First question to Mayor Noddy. What's the best news to come to your community in 2013?
Well, I'd like to introduce my colleagues on the council first, and then we'll get into the program. We'll be brief. We won't take the full allotted time to keep the program moving, but hold your applause until I introduce all my colleagues. We'll start with the Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Michael Taylor, Joe Romano, Barbara Ziarko, Deanna Koski, and Doug Skinars. Give them a little round of applause. We've been making some tough decisions. Thank you.
I think this is my 25th time doing it, so I'm very, very honored. I do want to introduce Councilman Chuck Cuddington, our clerk Beth Ricketts, Deputy Chief Sean Cody, Treasurer Phil Paternoster, my husband. If I don't introduce Jerry, I'll get killed later. So, my beautiful daughter Catherine teaches at Utica and Ike, our grant writer Linda Davis Kirksey, and a special guest, the Executive Director of the Michigan Municipal League, Dan Gilmartin.
And also, I would like to, in addition to the Chamber of Commerce, Sterling Heights Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank Barb Rossman, who's done a very good job for the last many years I've been involved, and also Henry Ford Health Systems. You guys are a magnificent partner, and I want to thank you very much. You're very professional. I see you all the time, and we really appreciate your support in our community. Thank you. And yes, I would like to introduce my board as well. We've got Doug Wozniak, Paul Valier, and also Stan Grote, and we've got Michael Flynn, and I think that's everybody. And also I've got members of our civil service commissions stated there, and Brad Bates, my deputy supervisor, and I hope I didn't leave anybody out. Oh, and Mr. Nightingale, I'm sorry. And Nick Nightingale, who's sitting to my immediate right. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
What's the best news to come to your community in 2013?
That we all got reelected. But anyway, we had a lot of good things happen to us with this really downed economy. We had a millage proposal for safe streets for police, fire, and road improvements, and we had to educate the residents and let them know why and how we were going to spend the money for police and fire, keep from laying off 65 of our police and firemen. And with the education and with some, I don't know, good sell and letting people know that Sterling Heights, our residents are used to a safe community, one of the safest communities in the state, country, and it was passed with a good percentage of margin. And you know, we really applaud the residents of Sterling Heights, and I think next year we have to show them how we're going to be prudent with those tax dollars for its sunset clause, 6 years, I believe, and got to fix roads and with the least amount of disconvenience for the residents, because traffic's bad enough, and then when you got the orange barrels around, it just makes it twice as bad. But just gain the confidence of our community, our residents, and just show them that we're professional in what we do, and we want to keep Sterling Heights a leader in the community, and I think we always have more or less led the path, Sterling Heights, with our council, the decisions we make, the administration working together, and the employees. Wow, our employees really stepped up to the plate, giving concessions when we really were in dire times with the economy the way it is. And I just think Sterling Heights, we do a good job for our residents, and they keep our council and administration on our toes when they come up and speak during council meetings. But we look forward to the challenges of 2014. A lot of them just come about, something you don't see. So we're looking forward to 2014.
Thank you, Mayor. Same question, Supervisor Stathakis.
Well, as many of you know, we do spend a lot of time defining our top 10 priorities in Shelby Township. And last year I thought was a great year in which we actually achieved with complete success, achieved 3 of our top 10 priorities. One was the efficiency of the civil service process. That was our number 3 priority for our government. And Human Resources Director Lisa Suda, along with our civil service commissioners, streamlined the process, and they reduced actually the number of days it takes to hire an employee in Shelby Township from 225 days to fewer than 100, which is really outstanding. That means now in Shelby Township, we can hire an employee faster than it takes to build a Walgreens, and I think it's a lot of progress. But we knocked off 125 days, and that's still declining. Also, priority number 7, our township made history, and believe it or not, we didn't have a capital improvement plan. We now have that in place. Now, we had various capital improvement plans by department, but we never had a comprehensive one. And it took quite a while to actually get that together. And obviously now we can map out when and where we'll need major infrastructure enhancements and in replacement in the township. But it also allows us to budget for those items and remove a lot of costs that would have been associated with borrowing money, whether it be bonds or whatever, which we don't have to do. So if we need a server, a computer server, and we know it's going to cost $100,000, we can put $30,000, $33,000 away each year. And at the end of 3 years now, the decision is not, where do we get the money, but how do we spend it? We can spend more time on that and maybe even put it off a year. So we're in much better financial shape that way. And the third priority that we fully completed as a community was the enhancement to one of the township's greatest assets, our roads. Our township, and also its park system. But I want to talk about the park system because our township, is that my microphone? It's moving around a little bit, or?
Not mine.
Okay, sorry about that. But our township engineer, Fazal Khan, our Parks and Recreation Committee headed by Michael Flynn, and also Joe Youngblood, our director, with our fire chief and entire fire department, they pooled their resources together and to complete what's now known as Gene Shepherd Park on 23 Mile Road near DeQuinder. And this site honors one of our community's truly great leaders, who of course was former Chief Gene Shepherd, who passed in 2012 after a long battle with cancer. But now it's a place for families to gather. And construction was completed in a fiscally responsible and very cooperative manner, and I know that this would make Gene Shepherd proud. But what makes these successes, though, even more impressive is that our board, for the 5th straight year, did not have to raise local millage rates. And for the 5th straight year, our township had a surplus, showing that it can be done, and government can do more with less. And I've got to say my hat's off to the entire board of trustees for making all this happen.
Thank you, Supervisor. Mayor Noonan?
The best things that happened in Utica in 2013 is we survived. No question about it, being the tiniest city in the county, having very limited resources, the term partnership is what I wake up every day looking for who else to turn to. And certainly Barb and Sandy are right on target. We are so proud of our neighbors to the north and the south. Both Shelby Township and Sterling Heights have helped us through some very rough times over the years. And they are definitely partners in macro and in every sense of the word. Police, fire, Department of Public Works, along with the school system. By the way, the 2nd largest in the state and one of the 10 best in the country. Our 4 high schools made the top 200 in the country. So a shout out to all of the educators in the room. Along with that, I'm a retired teacher. We never stop singing our own praises. 10 or 12 new businesses came into the community in our tiny business district to fill some empty storefronts. We had a re-election unopposed of half the council, and I decided to run again. We won't even go there. Settled a FD contract where concessions again began the negotiation on 3 more. And we know that one of the biggest achievements was getting the healthcare issue all sorted out and getting everyone on board. And for the very first time ever, our employees, some of our retirees, have to share in the cost of that particular benefit. And that was not an easy road, and I can really identify with both of the remarks that Sandy and Barb shared with us. But in spite of all the difficult times, you know that Utica loves to party. So starting in February, we had an Ice and Fire Spectacular that was spectacular. We also had our Riverwalk Festival, our Old Mill Arts and Crafts, our car cruise, our Zombie Fest. Can you believe a Zombie Fest? I can't, but it was adorable. And we had people running, zombies chasing people. It was delightful. And then we finished up with our tree lighting in December. So while Utica is tiny and little, we share with our neighbors the Clinton River. One of our nicest events through the year was taking the Beautification Council of Southeast Michigan to Sterling Heights, and the 3 communities sponsored their one of their anniversary celebrations. So again, we are always happy to join our 2 neighbors and sit down and say, it is wonderful to be in Macomb County.
Thank you. Mayor Noonan, what's the biggest hurdle you had to cross in 2013? And what do you see the biggest one for 2014?
This mayor? Me?
Yes.
Dick.
Oh,
all right. Okay, no, we were switching.
Did I say mayor?
In 20, you said mayor, but there are 2 of us.
Oh.
There are 2 Richards and 2 mayors. Very confusing. Budget definitely was the biggest hurdle. When you have to dig into your rainy day fund, when you have less than 3 months operating capital in the rainy day fund, that has to be by far the biggest hurdle. Getting all the ducks in the row for healthcare was probably part of that. And moving ahead into 2014, again, it will be budget. Just surviving is important. Attracting new businesses, keeping the level of service. We're a full service city. You go into Utica in the middle of a snowfall, you know you're in Utica. No offense, but our streets are clean. They're clean within hours. Road Commission's not here, right? Okay. And we know Sterling Heights is much bigger, but we do the job and we get it done economically and efficiently. I think that keeping all of our parks viable and moving ahead with our plan to construct the federally funded hike and bike trail that we share with Shelby Township. We're working very hard to not let $1.9 million in a line item budget of high priority funds go away. Sandy, we need your help again, one more time. We need to make sure that we get that trail done so that the wonderful quality of life that Sterling Heights, Shelby, and Utica share can only get better and better and better. We have new police cars we have to purchase. We have an ISO review upcoming, and we have to always make the city an exceptional place in this suburban ring around Detroit to want to be, because we charge more taxes than anybody else on the podium. So we don't want to lose people to our beautiful neighbors north and south, but then again, you can walk out your door, walk to church, walk to the Dairy Queen. We are a very walkable little city, and we have to tout what we do have going for us. And making it a place that people want to live and work is our biggest goal of all for 2014.
Thank you. Mayor Nadi, same question.
Okay, the biggest hurdles we had in 2013, I don't really know if they're hurdles, but challenges. We had many challenges in 2013. Our budget was one of our major challenges also. I think for any community, the budget's a major challenge in this economic times. But anyway, with the city council, the city administration, and also our employees, we did balance our budget with keeping the same level of service, being a safe city. Also, one of our big challenges was getting that millage passed for safe roads, police, fire, and repairing of the roads. And through the education of the public, our police chief, fire chief, going to a lot of homeowner associations, letting them know why, what for, how we were going to spend the money. That was a big challenge for us. And just everyday business is a challenge, and some are just bigger than others. But just the everyday operation of the city council and the city administration working together with the input of our residents. Sterling Heights is just the community that we do have a good reputation. It's because of our working together. Partnerships, collaboration, I think that's what it's really all about. Macro, we're a charter member. All three of our communities are in Macro. We started that in about 2011 as a task force. And then we got organized and call it the Macomb Area Regional Opportunities for whatever. Working together, just partnerships, and it's got a long acronym, but the main thing right now, we have 9 communities working together to share services and look for opportunities to share maybe equipment or whatever, but just like Barbara Rossman said, working together, partnerships, collaboration, that's really what it's all about. And we're going to continue to do that and still maintain our status as being one of the better communities in the state of Michigan.
Supervisor?
Hey, first of all, I just want to say thank you, Mayor Noddy and Business Manager Mark Vanderpool. You do a wonderful job leading us in our macro efforts, and I know it started in Sterling Heights and has stayed there and belongs there, and we really do appreciate it. And I think I'm speaking on behalf of Mayor Noonan as well. Thank you very much. Yeah, biggest hurdle in 2013 and 14. Well, the #1 priority in Shelby Township is defined in our top 10 priorities. And I keep talking about these top 10, but remember now, our top 10 is defined by input from residents, that's one group, our department heads, that's a second group, and the third group would be the Board of Trustees. So when all the results are put together, we have a top 10 priority list. And #1 last year, as well as this year, and it's not a surprise, is to reform our underfunded police and fire pension programs. We are currently in negotiations with both the police and fire unions, and we are pushing pretty hard for pension reform, which is noteworthy since negotiation is really the only significant way to reform these systems. In our fire department, let's just put this in perspective, according to the latest actuarial study, which came out in 2012, the underfunded pension liabilities were about $12.5 million. The underfunded retiree health care costs are about $19.3 million, which is a total legacy cost of about $31.9 million. And let me put that in perspective again by saying that the total operating budget for the fire department is about $14 million. So we're looking at about $32 million of legacy costs and about $14 million operating budget each year. It's way out of whack. We're terribly underfunded. We're completely upside down, and we do need to fix that. And I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to get that done. Obviously not the whole problem solved, but hopefully we can get some big progress. The police department is facing underfunded commitments as well. Their pensions are underfunded, I should say, by about $13.6 million, $21.9 million for underfunded health care costs. So the total then of legacy costs just for the police department is about $35.5 million. Again, this would be underfunded retiree commitments, debts owed to the retirees. So the police department's annual operating expenses, just to put this in perspective one more time, is about $15.5 million. Again, compare that to the $35.5 million of underfunded liability. We really do have to do something about that. And unfortunately, during recent negotiations with the police officers union, the union voted against bringing in a defined contribution plan, which is like a 401k plan, and that would only be for new hires, new hirees. And that would have been probably the most basic step down a path for true pension reform. But having said all that, we are all still very optimistic that we'll be able to continue to work on this most important issue because it is our top priority. And word from our residents and taxpayers is that they do not want this can kicked down the road any longer. And it will indeed have a lasting effect on the township long after myself and most members of our board have moved out of public service. So we hope to get this done, or at least started in 2014.
Supervisor Stathakis. Next question. With the projected revenue surplus at the state level, do you anticipate any of that trickling down to your community?
Well, yes, we hope it does, and our board, I think, knows the value of tax relief, as most business leaders do. We know the value also of infrastructure when it comes to growing business and maintaining a very happy and safe environment. This is why I believe that our state reps, as they examine where to use a state surplus, as they're doing right now, they need to look first and foremost at the most important infrastructure asset that we have as a government, which is our roads. Since a conservative majority of our township actually took the board in 2008, I'm very happy to say that we've consistently have invested funds in maintenance and expansion of our roads, thanks to the Macomb County and also some other various officials that have helped us out. Many conversations with our residents and taxpayers and area business leaders. They have been a resounding success. Our investment has been good. But, and after all, that only makes sense because, you know, when you travel the highways in the state of Michigan in the winter and early spring, I think you can attest to the fact that as customers and clients, you know, if they can't get into a place of business in a timely and safe manner, the likelihood of a return for more business is greatly diminished. So our business leaders have told us time and time and again that one of the reasons they enjoy doing business in Shelby Township is that they can count on the support of local government, maybe through some tax abatements, but more importantly, the investment in infrastructure, such as roads. And this is why, if there is enough surplus dollars, I say yes to investing in some more tax relief. But first, we must look in other ways to promote a thriving business community in the state, especially those steps which can also benefit, and I'm talking about roads, which are enjoyed by the population at large.
Mayor Noddy.
Okay, are we going to get some money back from the state? I doubt it. Just the state, we really don't have a lot of faith or confidence in them. They've been balancing their budget on all of our cities, townships, and villages for the past 10 years. And really, just like now with the personal property tax, elimination of that, they promise us 90% in return, which I doubt if that'll ever happen. And they've just been cutting. I think in 2001, we got over $5 million in state revenue sharing, and I think we're down to about $900,000 in state revenue sharing. And the state, they just passed a law to give veterans, disabled veterans, a tax break on their house taxes. But the city is going to absorb not getting that tax break. And they passed the law, and we're not going to complain and, you know, be mad at the disabled veterans. It's good, but they should have paid the bill and not have us pay the bill, and they passed the law. It's things like that, you lose confidence. And I haven't got a hell of a lot of confidence in our state of Michigan to give us much return on what they took away from us for 10 years. No, I don't think so. But anyway, we do have some good legislators that were involved in city. We have Harold Hall was a mayor, Marilyn Lane was a mayor, Tony Forlino was a supervisor, and they know what cities go through with the elimination of all our revenue sharing. And I don't know, I think we need a part-time legislature in Lansing. I think they have too much time on their hands to justify their existence. And just make up laws that helps one community, hurts another community. Just like personal property tax. We're an industrial city. We get beat up on the elimination of personal property tax. Jack Brandenburg, he's one of the representatives, a state senator. His community that he represents, they don't have much industry. Hell, he don't care. He'd eliminate personal property tax. But Sterling Heights, city of Warren, we have a big industrial base, and it hurts us big time. And no, I don't think we'll get too much back, but hopefully we get a little bit back. But that's about all I can say on that.
I hate to say it, but as president of the Michigan Municipal League currently, I have to echo completely Dick's remarks. For 30 years, the state, the legislature made promises to local government. And beginning about 18 years ago, they were reneging on those promises. In the last 10 years, they've done it big time. And when 08 happened and the financial meltdown, Who would have thought that the collateral damage of the Great Recession is local government? No question about it. When you base the financial model for funding of local government on property taxes, and property taxes drop by 1/3 to 1/2, you're going to be underwater. That's why budget is such a difficult situation. When the state of Michigan, during that last 4 to 5 years, heaps even more regulation on local government so that to compile data, send it onto the Treasury, have them put it in a dashboard that nobody is using. No one needs that data. Why are they doing it? Inexplicable in my mind. I wonder, why can't they see the $430 million that is expected from 13, 14, and 15, 3 years in a row, that the state will amass as their budget surplus? Why are you not going back and funding all those promises you made? Promises like, don't tax locally in this manner, let's pool it all, the state will collect it, and then we'll share it equitably. Great idea. I see why Dick has no confidence that they'll do that, because for 18 years, they haven't. They have consistently cut local government. If you don't think the financial model in Michigan is broken to fund local government, then go back and read the Plant Moran study from about a decade ago. There's no question, when you take the Headley Amendment, Proposal A, and the 98 changes to the tax law, to use a vernacular, local government is screwed. No question. To create some sort of financial model, looking at other states, we don't live in a tunnel. We live on a peninsula, 2 of them. And we ought to be looking around at other states that have faced similar situations and chosen to figure it out. One of the ideas you can find in an excellent document called My Place, which is put out by the Michigan Municipal League. Yeah, our group authored it. But the idea is, take the brilliance of education, take the resources of Michigan, and rethink how we do things. The governor's fond of saying relentless positive action, and thanks, Rick, such a gentleman. Relentless positive action, it's been relentless positive arbitrary action towards local government. Regulations out the kazoo, taking away property tax. For us, it's 10%. For Sterling Heights, it's probably more like 27 or 28% of your entire revenue in personal property or higher. I know in East Point, it's 34%. There are really very good reasons why they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. But going back to partnership, what do we do when we're faced with things like this? I cry to the federal government. That's why we go to the feds and ask them, in situations like this, we need help. Van Dyke would never have been resurfaced for the mile that City of Utica owns it if Sandy Levin had not put us as a line item in the federal budget for $3.85 million. If Governor Engler, not one of my favorite governors, but at least he sat down and listened, and when we pleaded with the little tiny city, and it's got this major thoroughfare, he listened. MEDC and everyone else jumped on board. So we know that we can't really trust blindly where the state's going. We have to cry out firmly, intelligently, and loudly.
Thank you. Last question. Mayor Noddy, what have you done in the last year to make your community more welcoming and business friendly? And has that led to, and will it continue to grow existing businesses and bring new businesses to your community?
Well, we've been working on diversifying our manufacturing efforts from the auto industry to defense, because we're really an industrial city. We have 4 major auto plants, 2 Ford and 2 Chrysler plants. And with the downturn of the auto industry, we don't have the employees in those plants or the tax base from before the personal property tax. But we do, I was just trying to think, that Chrysler plant on 16 Mile in Van Dyke, they announced that they were going to build 2 new cars there, the Chrysler 200, which is an updated 200 from before. And just next month, they're going to have the opening of the new paint shop and the new body shop, which Chrysler invested $1 billion. And that effort there, keeping that plant open, is a typical partnership we've been involved with in government. Sandy Levin was a part of that. Candace Miller, our two senators, federal senators, the state government, county government, and our city. We gave Chrysler incentives that they could not refuse. And from a plant being closed in 2010 to have a company invest $1 billion 2 years later, I think it's quite an accomplishment for the working effort of all those that I mentioned, all the governments together. And from a plant closure to a $1 billion investment and to build 2 new model cars there this coming year, I think that's quite an accomplishment for that effort. And that's what it's all about, working together, collaboration, just like was mentioned tonight, the partnerships in government and in healthcare. But we look forward to keeping our community upscale and looking for ways to maintain our industry, commercial, and with the tax base. Sterling Heights has one of the best tax bases around because of the industry and commercial. Our breakdown is about 60% taxes paid by our residents and 40% paid by industry and commercial. A lot of communities, 90% of taxes are paid by the residents and only 10% paid by any commercial or industrial that they have. But we're just going to maintain, keeping Sterling Heights moving forward, working together, collaborating, expanding on our macro efforts. Just last night, our city council made a tough decision, spending $58,000 on a fire study for 4 communities. And we're talking about Sterling Heights, Harrison Township, Mount Clemens, and Clinton Township. And that study will go from DeQuinder to the river, and hopefully that will be an investment. So we look forward to more collaboration. Thank you.
Mayor Noonan?
Certainly over the years, we developed early on what we call the Utica model. When businesses, whether it's a small boutique or something much, much larger like the big box stores, come to us, we sit them down, the mayor, the planner, because in my city, I'm Mark Vanderpool and Dick put together, the city manager and the mayor. And we go through the process so they understand up front what it is like to develop something in our city. Then it goes to Planning Commission and we massage the proposals. And we find that over the years, the submit and reject process is non-existent. We try to lay out to them where there are things that we think need to be changed or modified, and that's made us very business friendly. I think many of the businesses over the years have said that's why they stay there. We also know that while our tax structure certainly is not the lowest, it's near the highest in the county, we do feel that our services, police, fire, and DPW are on par with our neighbors. We really work hard with 2 advanced life support ambulances and part-time firefighters, along with excellently equipped and trained fire, police, and our administrative staff. It's a good place to do business, and it is a friendly pro-business atmosphere. Our Downtown Development Authority, as you know, if you drive through Utica, you see an excellent, pleasant streetscape. We've resurfaced every road in the city except one short 16th of a mile. We know that we've tried to spend efficiently and effectively all the dollars we bonded for. We've used the county and state and federal resources. But we think in the big picture, if you want a small, delightful place to live, work, and have a business, that's Utica. And we know that the new businesses coming in have told us that's why they've located there, and we know to expect another dozen or so within the next 12 months.
Supervisor?
Yes, I would agree. Utica's a great neighbor to have, and but I'd also like to say that our township is taking many steps in moving and I think being more active participant in economic development and redevelopment. Mr. Wynn, our planner, has created an invaluable tool for the township and its business community this past year. It's a model, and it's a real simple model for economic development. It's a three-pronged initiative, basically explaining coordination, promotion, and site availability, and that's what we build everything on, that model. With this framework, we've moved ahead, and a lot of you probably have heard about the Prime Properties pilot program initiated by Macomb County, and we are very happy to be part of that. It showcases one of our township's premier industrial sites, Cherry Creek Corporate Park, and as a pilot property for the county's newest online version, it's got many amenities for Shelby Township as well. While Prime Properties Initiative is geared more toward the industrial development, the township also took another initiative for commercial development. And here we've got two trustees headed by Trustee Paula Filer and also Treasurer Michael Flynn, and they're partnering with Mr. Wynn to form an Economic Development Advisory Committee. They've already have had one meeting, and they're off to a good start. This committee I'm really excited about because it's going to be working with business leaders to enhance the commercial area of our local economy by focusing on the coordination with the county and site availability, by having a firm idea of the township's inventory of sites ready for prospective developments. The underlying theme of these initiatives that I just talked about in Mr. Wynn's framework is to make the township ready to be successful and reap the full benefit of its strengths to enhance development across all channels of the local economy. And while I firmly believe that government does not need or should be in the business of creating public sector jobs, government should in some way focus on creating an environment where businesses can thrive in the private sector. The private sector can create high-paying, long-lasting jobs. And that's what I think our Board of Trustees has been striving to do in this past year and also in the past 4 years before that.
Thank you. Let's give a nice hand to our community leaders who answered our questions.